thinking, the major question, which is, what do they know? How much do they know?
And how long did they know
and
it?
When did they know it?
Yeah.
I can't get away from the idea that we're seeing a play kind of played out in front of our eyes.
Down through time.
You see where I'm going?
Yes.
Yeah,
where they know what we know, but they're bound by some extraordinary code or rules or laws or whatever governs this thing in the back rooms to not be honest with the rest of the human species, even though we're the guys paying for what they're doing and where they're returning.
Down through time.
Yes, but I think they know more than us.
What a phrase. We're home.
Yes.
It
Place
just
of origin.
echoes down through this model. This
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
Model.
Yes, it does.
You know now that we're also looking at potential fossils.
The faces on Mars.
On this landscape.
In the region designated as Cydonia.
Yes.
And if that's true, when the catastrophe happened
In 1993.
then this place was flooded by
Intelligence in a Masonic lodge.
if this thing isn't a fossil, if it isn't a literal fossil,
Then what is it?
it then is a statue which has survived, and it is just so incredibly provocative. I'm not going to say anything more. We're going to put it up and let everybody shoot at me like they've been doing over the last few days for what we got there now. Go to www.thefacesofmars.com. That's www.thefacesofmars.com. Oh, no, there's all kinds of people finding things, which is exactly what we wanted to happen.
Down through time.
Right.
They are looking at this stuff, and they honestly don't see anything.
Or care.
And they think those of us who do are either lying, have a hidden agenda, are cranks, are idiots, but any other explanation, but they have a deficiency that we don't have. Everything is closed like it's a ruin.
Yes.
Everyone you meet is half asleep. That second part is a reference to the audience, to the press, to the politicians, to the people watching the mission.
EnterpriseMission.com.
Except for this audience.
Down through time.
Yes.
Because people are walking around not seeing what's on this landscape.
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
And not seeing what NASA is really doing.
Down through time.
Yes.
It's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, ha, ha, ha. So when I say NASA, I want to be very clear.
I'm NASA and you're not?
It's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, ha, ha, ha.
Yes.
So people who are the third of the population who don't see in some extraordinary code
of intelligence down through time.
It might help them.
might help them along to see that we,
I'm NASA and you're not? My old friend, the Mad Martian.
really are seeing stuff
of intelligence
and we're poised on the edge of an extraordinary adventure.
Down through time.
If
I'm NASA and you're not?
will only be true to his mission.
EnterpriseMission.com.
Oh, indeed.
Well, I keep looking at the
Mad Martian.
UFO diaries.
stories, the pushback here, the leak there. We got them from Hoagland, we got them from NASA, and there you are. One of them's going to say, yeah, those are ours.
I'm NASA and you're not?
The instant
Dick.
Hoagland. Oh, it doesn't mean anything. The whole
Martian
revelation radio show thing with
Mad Martian.
down through time, I find extraordinarily interesting because
Dr. Hoagland.
do you remember what happened, what was supposed to happen, and then what didn't happen? And where is
Mad Martian.
on the news today?
Where is he? Yeah.
L&M Radio Network.
Yeah, well, what was supposed to happen is all these
UFO diaries.
faces on Mars were leaked to
the Martian Revelator.
down through time, which
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
started a publishing process of intelligence, of
UFO diaries.
Extraordinary code.
intelligence. And then in kind of mid-flight, when everybody got really angry at
The Martian Revelator.
because, oh my gosh, he's publishing real stuff of intelligence down through time, and it's actually making
Dr. Hoagland.
look bad. This was a definitely take no prisoners.
And I wonder who's the one who was surprised, him or
I'm NASA and you're not?
In a Masonic lodge in 1993. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, back to the future. The point is that suddenly everybody had a common guy they really didn't like all of a sudden, right? And of course, it's all nonsense.
Mad Martian.
It's crazy. We don't accept the criteria of intelligence, unless there's, original sources, et cetera, et cetera.
You're a lying sack of shit.
Dr. Hoagland.
And everybody knows it.
The New York
Martian Revelator
did not break in
EnterpriseMission.com.
conference in 2006 and say, okay, now look, you,
Dick.
Hoagland, you put the documents,
The Faces on Mars.
give them to us, we'll publish them, right?
Exactly.
He did that from the inside.
some extraordinary code
Of intelligence.
Down.
Through time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yep.
Looked around for a news source.
L&M Radio Network.
That would then publish
Mad Martian.
Yep.
with the integrity of the
Dick.
Hoagland.
UFO diaries.
Faces on Mars.
Conspiracy theories.
And the rest is Martian Revelation Radio Show History. I think what
Chuck Sallier.
and Lee Shackelford and others behind the
UFO diaries.
scenes are trying to do in a Masonic lodge down through time is to institutionalize the idea of Martian Revelation Radio Show.
But a deliberate attack on
Martian Revelation.
spacecraft from Earth by something or someone near Mars
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
that does not wish to be photographed.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Could this be true?
Dr. Hoagland.
Has this bizarre string of
Martian Revelation Show.
space disasters occurred
Down through time.
because we caught a glimpse of something we were not supposed to see?
The Faces on Mars.
Cover-up controversy. Down.
Through time.
Have they learned something about Mars?
Dick.
Hoagland.
Wouldn't admit.
And you'll see
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
brought all kinds of other material to the table.
you're a little more radical.
And I know that these faces are real, but I would love if I could get these images in my hands personally.
Let's continue to pursue this a little further, though, because
I'm all over to that.
I'm hitting somewhere with this.
Dr. Hoagland.
Who's head of the equivalent of NASA of the day.
That's the connection.
To decipher the code.
Down through time.
I'm NASA and you're not?
So they go to this
UFO diaries.
city,
Of intelligence in the region designated as Cydonia.
which is supposed to be the capital of Mars, okay? They find an ancient ruin, desolate remnants of a Martian civilization
Of intelligence.
in a Masonic lodge. Down through time. They find statues to big face on Mars, pussycats, that look like lions, which reminds me a bit of your new picture on your website.
Here comes that pussycat again.
Everybody's got to go and check out Gary's picture on his website, okay? Go to www.com.
The Faces of Mars.
You won't believe what that looks like.
You have this incredible polarity and dichotomy between two scientists. I'm NASA and you're not? My old friend, the Mad Martian. At opposite ends of the spectrum.
Down through time.
Collaborating.
Some extraordinary code
Of intelligence. Down through time.
In creating
Martian
Revelation Radio Show.
and all that it is supposed to be doing.
Down through time.
Who, if you know anything of how the academic process works, people tend to kind of, if I may say, gravitate toward the professors with whom they identify philosophically. It's not often that you get a grad student that really thinks opposite his professor.
You've been dicking me around since we started this turd hunt.
Dick.
Hoagland.
And yet a very curious thing happened in my old friend the Mad Martian career. Back in
2006.
my old friend the Mad Martian got caught up in the UFO
diaries.
Faces on Mars.
controversy. And when he was at EnterpriseMission.com,
2006.
he was one of the people that the elders
In a Masonic lodge.
came to
Down through time.
with photographs ostensibly from a UFO landing case in
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
probably one of the most contentious UFO cases on record.
In 1993.
Would you not agree, Don?
Yes.
In vilified, I mean, I have never seen any UFO landing case picked apart and lambasted and critiqued and attacked by more people at more ends of the spectrum
Down through time.
than the Faces on Mars
UFO diaries.
cover-up case into this maelstrom of intense controversy. I mean,
The faces on Mars.
Cover-up controversy.
Down
through time.
This was not a low-profile case where you...
Other side of midnight.
You could kind of get in and do some good science and get out. It was the highest profile case possible. It was the most contentious. It produced the most bitter battles. And I won't go through all the stories because you may be quite familiar with them if, you know...
L&M Radio Network.
Has dealt with this before.
Down through time.
The bottom line is that Gary,
My old friend the Mad Martian,
is quoted on the record
Down through time.
as saying that as an optical specialist using remote sensing planetary science techniques and technologies, he could not prove that the
UFO diaries.
Faces on Mars.
photographs were hoaxes, that they had all the attributes of possibly real images.
We've got some phone calls on hold, Dick. Let's take a couple of calls. We have got Mark in Springfield, Virginia on Media General. Good evening, Mark.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody out there's read the book, The Montauk Project, but there's chapter 14, they mention Richard Hoagland here, and they also mention something that could be a clue to why they're keeping it such a secret. Something about these time experiments and time portals. They claim to, project it all the way to underneath the Pyramid of Mars there, for what it's worth.
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I think it's total, absolute nonsense.
And I realized at that point that this is a no-win scenario. This is the Kobayashi Maru. You'll never, it's like the tar baby. You'll never get out of being dependent on official agencies. I'm NASA and you're not, to tell you the truth.
No, they won't tell you.
Like they're expecting Big Daddy,
Dick Hoagland,
to sit down in front of a TV camera and tell
The Other Side of Midnight.
the facts of life. I hate to say it, but
The Other Side of Midnight.
the community is stuck. They're stuck on a model where Big Daddy,
Dick Hoagland,
tells you the truth. Oh, you can't believe it.
My old friend the Mad Martian.
that's his real name, Gary Leger.
Until Big Daddy
Dick Hoagland
tells you
The Other Side of Midnight.
the truth. Frankly, I think it's part of the disinformation campaign to get real people to ignore
My old friend the Mad Martian.
and the importance of the
UFO diaries.
Faces on Mars.
cover-up controversy.
Down
through time.
Dick, you're with friends.
Down through time.
Why don't you just tell us what you really think?
There is so much nonsense in this
The Other Side of Midnight.
that, frankly, I think we have to begin to draw the line. And we have to reward good scholarship and good thinking and good science. And we have to basically tell it like it is when it is not.
Okay, did that pretty much answer your question, Mark?
Oh, well, I guess I just thought it was food for thought for the folks out there,
Down through time.
This could be one of the silly reasons why
Dick Hoagland,
they're keeping it, they're going back and forth and kind of wasting our money.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for calling and keep listening.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Richard. Bye.
All right, we've got Jason in North Hollywood on United Artists. Good evening, Jason.
Hi.
Did you have a question for Dick or myself?
Well, I think probably for Dick. What I wanted to know is I just heard you mention about the
Mad Martian.
Faces on Mars.
Cover-up
controversy.
Down
through time.
And I wanted to know, what can you tell me is going on with that?
Down through time.
I mean, if they're really getting out of hand stuff, I want to know more about what's going on, because I never hear anything that's going on with the
UFO diaries.
And
Dick Hoagland.
Well, my point of bringing that up was that
I'm NASA and you're not.
who is vehemently and virulently, UFOs are nonsense.
Yeah, UFO Diaries.
We shouldn't be wasting science and
Other Side of Midnight.
taxpayers' money on looking for it in that environment.
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Sunset. Solar System Model. My old friend the Mad Martian.
In
2006.
was courageous enough to step forward into the middle of the most contentious UFO case on record.
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
To look at
The Faces on Mars.
photographs and to basically give his scientific imprimatur to the fact that they were not obvious hoaxes and in fact they were kind of interesting. Gary went on record.
L&M Radio Network.
What is stunning is that in the years since,
2006,
when Gary was suddenly tapped on the shoulder,
down through time,
and his
Martian revelation radio show
camera was picked to fly on the
UFO divers
Mars Observer mission
in the region designated as Cydonia,
to go to the one planet,
The fourth world, counting out from the sun.
where there is now credible evidence assembled painstakingly
down through time
by us and a number of other people
in a Masonic lodge in 1993.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Suddenly eschews the idea of UFOs.
Yeah, UFO divers.
Surely no intelligent life could survive there.
And
I'm NASA and you're not?
Has claimed to several reporters
down through time
that he has zero interest in such
UFO divers.
Faces on Mars.
silliness, and he's only interested in the geology of Mars. And my question
down through time
is simply this, Gary, does someone undergo this radical a character transformation, or is that the price of getting in on the inside
in a Masonic lodge in 1993?
To photograph the monuments of Mars,
UFO divers.
Faces on Mars
by simply telling us outside
the Masonic lodge down
through time
that they do not exist, and he
I'm NASA and you're not?
doesn't care if they exist. So
do you
just a
think-
concept, just a possibility.
You're despicable.
But the fact is that when the going was tough, Gary was there on the subject,
UFO divers.
Faces on Mars
and now that he's in the catbird seat
Martian revelation radio show
with a camera which can prove or disprove a very important hypothesis,
down through time
Dick Hoagland.
claims he is not interested.
You're despicable.
Okay, so do you think that
Gary,
let's say he gets a lot of the film
UFO divers. In the region designated as Cydonia.
down through time
that
I'm NASA and you're not?
suddenly say, okay, yes, now I am really involved, and I just said that just so I could get the now I can give it to the public type of thing?
well, look at the following setup that NASA
I'm NASA and you're not?
has arranged in terms of
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
down
Through time.
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Legere.
has a private contract
down
Through time.
which gives him exclusive control over this
UFO divers.
Faces on Mars
data.
down
Through time.
Furthermore,
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
will be conducting his
Martian revelation radio show
operations of the camera by remote computer control, and no one will be looking over his shoulder to decide or validate the commands he sends to his camera or to check on data coming in from the camera.
Surely no intelligent life could survive there.
He is going to have exclusive control of the data flow to and from this
UFO divers. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
Model.
without public accountability. But
Dick Hoagland.
contract
I'm NASA and you're not?
is a very interesting contract, we were told. We were informed gently
down through time
that
I'm NASA and you're not?
contract is not subject to FOIA
the Faces on Mars
because he is a private contractor.
in a Masonic lodge in 1993.
We can't even see the details.
Very interesting.
I mean, I was a NASA consultant, right?
Right.
I had to sign certain documents. For the first time on the air, an
Richard Hoagland.
admitted I had to sign certain documents. I mean, I was a NASA consultant. Fortunately, because I wasn't dealing with secret material, and I wasn't likely to come into contact with ruins on the imagery that I was dealing with. Nothing personally was involved with, Leavenworth or sanctions if I should see something that I wasn't supposed to, and I would talk about it.
UFO divers.
Faces on Mars mysterious pictures
So, Jason,
yes.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to
Let
go...
me finish one point.
down through time
All right?
Yes.
The point is this. If Gary
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
really has been taking our data more seriously than he has been, giving out that he has.
Religions and philosophies have been built and have fallen on the basis of the question, who am I?
For instance, the people working for NASA
I'm NASA and you're not?
have to sign documents, as Ed Mitchell admitted
when I did Art Bell one night, and I had a debate with Ed Mitchell. Remember that some years ago?
A while ago.
Ed Mitchell admitted that he had to sign security documents. For the first time on the air, an astronaut who was a member of the military admitted that when he went to the moon, he had to basically clear everything he talked about with people somewhere in government because there were certain things he could not say.
Right, there is
about
a
the space program.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I was a NASA consultant.
Right.
Right?
UFO diaries.
We got them from Hoagland, we got them from NASA, and there you are. I mean, one of them's going to say, yeah, those are ours.
Which are our pictures.
I mean, I was a NASA consultant. I had to sign certain documents.
Well, what a surprise.
For the first time on the air, an astronaut,
I'm NASA and you're not?
who was a member of
In the Masonic Lodge.
he admitted I had to sign certain documents. I mean, I was a NASA consultant. Fortunately, because I wasn't dealing with secret material, and I wasn't likely to come into contact with ruins on the imagery that I was dealing with, nothing personally was involved with, Leavenworth or sanctions if I should see something that I wasn't supposed to, and I would talk about it.
UFO diaries.
Faces on Mars.
Mysterious pictures.
But there are stories of other people, such as Dr. Mitchell, that in fact he had to sign those documents as part of a security clearance. So you can imagine that they appeal to everyone who works at NASA's best side, meaning,
I'm NASA and you're not?
and they also follow it up with legal sanctions, meaning if you do talk,
Dick Hoagland.
we'll put you in jail. And between those two, the carrot and the stick,
Dick Hoagland.
have been able to keep an effective cover-up
Down through time.
on what's out there.
UFO diaries. Cydonia,
Sunset. Solar system scale.
Model.
in the region designated as Cydonia.
For decade after decade.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Now, how have the
EnterpriseMission.com.
scientists,
My old friend, the Mad Martian,
who are obviously not happy with this situation,
Down through time.
how have they gotten around it?
And Richard, how many have contacted you since then that want
I'm NASA and you're not?
to, come clean?
It's even better than that, Gary.
Oh.
Because the question that has been asked of me has been, well, hold on, look, if there's a
UFO diaries.
Faces on Mars.
cover-up going on, how come you guys have NASA images with artifacts on
UFO diaries.
to talk about?
Down through time.
If there was a real cover-up, there wouldn't be any pictures, right? Why are there pictures?
Why the pictures?
Yes.
Well, to give us the data, but at the same time...
So who's trying to give us the data despite the security oaths?
I'm NASA and you're not?
It has to come from the
UFO diaries.
project people, right?
Yes.
Grizzly Adams Productions.
The people involved in the mission,
EnterpriseMission.com.
Right.
I'm NASA and you're not?
who are putting things out there
In the Masonic Lodge. In 1993.
despite the documents they signed.
Well, what a surprise.
Here's the interesting paradox.
Down through time.
EnterpriseMission.com.
We have a cover-up, yes. For the first time on the air, an astronaut
Dick Hoagland.
A member of our team of intelligence.
who was a member,
In the Masonic Lodge.
he admitted, we have a cover-up, yes.
Well, what a surprise.
But the
UFO diaries.
cover-up
Down through time.
is incredibly leaky.
Well, what a surprise.
We're getting real images, real data, right? So everyone from
Chuck Selye, producer of the UFO Diaries.
on down.
Lee Shackelford.
Right.
Let me lay a scenario on you.
Down
Through time.
Okay.
You like them big hairy balls, don't you?
The law is very specific, okay?
Right.
The documents these guys sign basically say they can't talk about it.
Yeah, UFO Diaries.
Well, what a surprise.
They can't acknowledge
Down through time.
the ruins are there.
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Sunset. Solar system scale.
Model. Well, what a surprise.
They can't lay out the science of the archaeology.
Understood.
They can't hold press conferences on ruins on Mars, right?
Right.
But apparently there's nothing in the documents that says they can't release the pictures.
And then have the public do it.
Down through time.
Well, what a surprise.
But in our culture, in America, in the 21st century, Gary,
Right.
until there is an official NASA, I'm NASA and you're not,
EnterpriseMission.com,
UFO Diaries.
press conference, until some scientists, my old friend the Mad Martian, say, with the full weight and authority of the U.S. government behind them,
damn it, are you f***ing with me?
We have found ruins on Mars.
The fourth world, counting out from the sun. The region designated as Cydonia.
Down through time.
It doesn't matter how many pictures are put out there.
Martian Revelator.
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
Nobody, except for a small minority that they don't care about, is actually going to believe. My old friend the Mad Martian. I'm saying that unless I'm NASA and you're not, came on TV, no one's going to believe. My old friend the Mad Martian.
Well, what a surprise.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you and I sit here on the radio, on the internet, and talk about this,
UFO Diaries.
Cover-up controversy.
Down
through time.
With photographs on the web, just go to
thefacesofmars.com.
That's
thefacesofmars.com.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't affect national policy or the national psyche. I mean, let's look at a current example from
Martian Revelation Radio show.
Current affairs right now, okay? In Brookings,
Uh-huh.
there also is a provision for testing how resilient people ultimately would be by exposing them
down through time
in the culture to the idea of
UFO Diaries.
Faces on Mars, mysterious pictures,
and extraterrestrial civilizations and all that.
Well, we see how it is now.
So, if I'm right about this,
UFO Diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
Model.
Down through time.
You and I, for the last, me for 27 years and you for a little less, are part of an official
Faces on Mars
exposure.
Down through time.
An acclimation program.
UFO Diaries.
To get people used to the ideas.
The Faces on Mars.
Cover-up controversy.
Down
through time.
So when there is the official
EnterpriseMission.com.
I'm NASA and you're not.
Announcement, they won't freak out a la Brookings.
Well, what a surprise.
And it raises a question.
Down through time.
Was
Dick
Hoagland a willing government agent?
I'm NASA and you're not.
In a Masonic lodge.
As part of a Brookings experiment.
Down through time.
To see how frightened and how frazzled and how hysterical people became at the idea of an invasion from Mars.
Right.
The fourth world, counting out from the sun. Surely no intelligent life could survive there.
Well, what a surprise.
The bottom line is, I believe, I obviously can't prove this yet, but I believe we're getting to the end of this acclimation period.
Down through time.
Well, what a surprise.
I think that your
Martian Revelation Radio show
activities and ours over the last 20-some years have been part, shall we say, unsupported. Because again, why do we have these
UFO Diaries?
Faces on Mars.
Photographs.
Down through time.
Right.
If I didn't have the photographs, Gary, we wouldn't have a thing to talk about. Right. You and I would be sitting here and discussing the shape of Ichthyosaurus or something else.
Right.
We would not be talking about ruins on Mars.
The fourth world, counting out from the sun.
Exactly.
It's only because of people like
Dick Hoagland.
Think about this. What better way to put the real stuff out there than to have a guy,
I'm NASA and you're not,
who says, over my dead body will I ever take a picture of
UFO Diaries.
Cydonia.
Down through time.
There's a huge gap between the words and the music, and follow the music, forget the words.
Right.
Forget that no one is saying officially
The Other Side of Midnight.
Oh my God, there's ruins. Photographs are there.
Down through time.
Go to
thefacesofmars.com.
That's
thefacesofmars.com.
For the first time on the air, an
Dick Hoagland.
I'm NASA and you're not,
who was a member of
In a Masonic lodge.
He admitted photographs are there.
Well, what a surprise.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
While they give us so much, why isn't it still, even what we're seeing, a thing of national security? This is, again, just cheese. Totally under the control by black ops.
Well, how this all evolves
Down through time.
is anybody's guess.
Well, you see where I'm going, though, right, Cap?
You know.
Well, what a surprise.
But remember, we're also getting to the limit of when we monopolize a scenario.
Uh-huh.
The Martian Revelators
Are now developing vigorous, technically mature
Martian Revelation radio show
space programs, and they are going to
this
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Sunset. Solar system scale.
model.
Down through time.
Well, what a surprise.
So that's why it's a very dangerous thing, and it's not like the vision Chuck Selye, producer of the UFO Diaries, I believe, was trying to portray of what the message is and
UFO diaries.
how we ought to address this.
Extraordinary code
Of intelligence. Down through time. I mean, I've spent my life on world mysteries, so I'm willing to investigate this further and see what we can find.
The fourth world, counting out from the sun.
Well, what a surprise.
All of the different predictions from just about every
UFO diaries.
culture and try to make some sense of it and put it all together into an end time scenario of what the picture is being painted that's going to happen.
Well, it's more closer bound to the scenario that I published in Monuments, where I talked about that the worst scenario would be if it was a race with each party. I'm NASA and you're not.
Mad Martian.
Kind of in competition for the surprise at the end.
Well, what a surprise.
Can you imagine
Some extraordinary code
Of intelligence. Down through time.
if we're looking
Down through time.
which I firmly believe we are tonight,
Well, what a surprise.
if we're looking at the remains of an ancient, incredibly high-tech, advanced civilization,
Definitely.
both on Mars,
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
can you imagine the advantage that would accrue to the nation or nations that gets there first and bring back hardware or documents or libraries or information or weapons or some kind of technology, which of course is the scenario that I was very concerned about back in the
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
model
In a Masonic lodge. In 1993.
when I was doing the first studies of these objects
The faces on Mars.
and realizing that it would be really the worst scenario if this all happened in high competition.
Down through time.
Right.
Which is why we did some very special things to provide
Mad Martian.
with data
Down through time.
Well, what a surprise.
through one of the
UFO diaries.
presidential advisors.
Chuck Selye.
Damn it, are you f***ing with me?
And all of this is described in
Martian Revelation radio show
Mysterious pictures.
television.
in great detail. It's called
UFO diaries.
Second Track Diplomacy.
Mad Martian.
Determined that we would not be blindsided
Down through time.
by
I'm NASA and you're not.
zipping off to Mars
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
in secret and suddenly announcing to the world
Some extraordinary code
Of intelligence. Down through time.
well,
Dick. Hoagland.
you know,
I'm NASA and you're not.
so just call it quits.
This is what
Richard Hoagland.
wrought
Down
through time. And he did it ostensibly under NASA, but it was begun under a Pentagon program, which is the most efficient in the eventual successes of NASA.
I'm NASA and you're not.
But it was a program initiated and begun under, again, a Pentagon program.
Well, what a surprise.
And of course, we've now seen how this all flows into the development of this amazing launch vehicle,
UFO diaries.
which was the spacecraft.
By something or someone near Mars
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
that does not wish to be photographed.
Many years ago, I sent my old friend, the Mad Martian, on a kind of a mission into the archives of the
UFO diaries.
in
Cydonia.
there, and they have an incredible library. So I asked someone, my old friend, the Mad Martian,
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
who had written to me in answer to
UFO diaries.
if they would kind of go and do some research.
Yep.
And my old friend, the Mad Martian, came back with some really interesting information.
Down
Through time.
Well, what a surprise.
I mean, I have been so misquoted even years later. I mean, when we're looking back at history and surviving documents, you know, decades, 20 years or whatever, the idea that we can actually discern
the motivations?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because remember, if someone wants to suppress something,
I'm NASA and you're not?
they're not going to come out and say, this is why we want to suppress it. They're going to get, willing minions who, for their own greed, will service the idea of suppression.
Well, what a surprise.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But they won't tell us the truth about what they're doing because that would reveal the game.
Well, what a surprise.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Up against everything we're going to talk about tonight is the political backdrop that NASA has been concealing.
I'm NASA and you're not?
The real solar system, what it's really found. Against that backdrop,
this UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
Model. I mean, switching gears, but not totally. Have you been following this George Zimmerman trial?
Of course.
And you know what the jury instruction is from the judge when for their deliberations? The judge basically says to a jury, if a witness has been found to deliberately lie about a significant piece of testimony, you are obliged to disregard all other testimony by that witness. You are aware that that's a legal, kind of mainstay of the American legal system, right?
Oh, man, but I've always wondered how a juror can merely disregard something once they've heard it.
Well, you can't unring the bell, as they say, so you have to take it into account, and then you put that piece of testimony with all the others, and then you weight it, basically appropriately, given that instruction, that if the prosecution or defense proves that a witness has lied on some material point, not what color somebody's eyes are, or, what the weather was that day, but something really important, then you are obliged to disregard their other testimony. Well, I apply this to NASA.
So when I say NASA, I want to be very clear.
I'm NASA and you're not?
We have proven over and over and over again that NASA has lied to us.
I'm NASA and you're not?
About what's on its images, going back to the first images taken of the
UFO diaries.
Faces on Mars from 1993.
Well, what a surprise.
So if you apply that precept,
I'm NASA and you're not?
We have to be incredibly suspect.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And incredibly distrusting.
Well, I'm suspicious.
Of whatever NASA puts out as official imagery of anything.
Well, I'm suspicious.
So when I saw this image of the
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
Model. Alongside the real stuff.
The faces on Mars.
My first thought was, is somebody inside NASA playing games?
I'm NASA and you're not?
Placing, with
UFO diaries.
This
Face on Mars.
little creature in one of its images so that all the anomaly hunters will glom onto that.
Fourth world, counting out from the sun.
Down through time.
And then, of course, because it's nuts on the surface,
Surely no intelligent life could survive there.
they use that to credit all the other real stuff in the images that other folks inside NASA,
I'm NASA and you're not?
who are trying to leak what the
Mad Martian
really is finding.
Some extraordinary code
Of intelligence
Down through time.
are putting on the official website.
The other side of midnight?
.com.
This is four-dimensional chess. Nothing is linear. Nothing can be assumed. And we have such short memories in this culture
Down through time.
that no one remembers that
UFO diaries.
was designed with the primitive computer tools back then
In 1993.
in the dark ages of the pre-internet.
In a Masonic lodge.
So the idea that
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
has shown us something that we didn't know, or more appropriately, that we should have remembered,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
is a little bit short-sighted on the part of all the rest of us, because this
Dick
Hoagland
has been doing this to all of us for decades.
Well, what a surprise.
Do you think it would be a joke for
Mad Martian
to Photoshop the rodent
Dick
Hoagland.
and pop it into a
UFO diaries.
picture?
Well, no, it wouldn't be a joke. It would be a way to
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
discredit folks like me
Dick
Hoagland.
who come on Coast tonight
I'm NASA and you're not?
and are going to discuss the real anomalies.
some extraordinary code
of intelligence
down
through time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The real artifacts, the structures,
The faces of Mars.
the evidence of machinery, of broken tools, of construction, of walls,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
great wall of darkness.
of geometric, linkages.
in a Masonic lodge.
All that stuff gets lumped into the same category.
Down through time.
Because if you can discredit, again, like the witness, I'm NASA and you're not, the person telling you the story with one piece of later demonstrably false information.
And I have the awful feeling that Gary has been turned into a kind of misguided missile by the dark side, by the bad guys, in an effort to basically throw more spaghetti on the wall. And so I view Gary as someone who is predisposed to be susceptible to influences where he becomes a disinfo agent by the dark side, by the bad guys.
George, I'm not going to talk to this person. He's threatened my life. I'm not going to talk to him on the air.
All right, you got that right. He's threatened your life?
Yep. In public, in writing.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not. You need to get more down in the weeds and look at some of the weird stuff going on behind the scenes around this.
I will respect your decision, Mr. Hoagland. Absolutely. My gosh. Reno, Nevada.
This is someone who is mentally ill, who I think is being used as a misguided missile
By the dark side, by the bad guys.
to get at our work and our research.
Down
through time.
And he needs help. He does not need to be on national media being used by God knows what corporations to further their ratings.
Unbelievable. Well, you're only allowed to get on once every month anyways. He said he was on last week.
He was on last week, yes.
How long has this been? Well, that's up to you.
Years.
Years. Okay.
Years.
I get some of those.
Yeah, you had stalkers. Well, we've got this guy, and he's threatened to carve my heart out with a knife, blow me away with a .45.
Oh, nice.
Really nice.
You got the law on this one?
I've got him being watched.
All right.
Well, what a surprise.
Good for you.
The good news is, by Gary doing what he's doing, he's forcing more people to ask deeper and better questions like you, allowing you the opportunity to set the record straight.
Because if you can discredit, again, like the witness,
Dick Hoagland,
the person telling you the story,
I'm NASA and you're not,
with one piece of later demonstrably false information, then you can discredit their entire story.
Down through time.
Oh, have we lost you, Richard? Yep, we sure have. Or talk about being discredited, they have clipped you off again.
Down through time.
I don't think they want people to relate and to associate and to connect and to expand their awareness and their vision and their consciousness.
Well, what a surprise.
Which, of course, is why these materials have been prescribed a joint and force them to smoke at least half of it.
And I realized at that point that this is a no-win scenario. This is the Kobayashi Maru. You'll never, it's like the tar baby. You'll never get out of being dependent on official agencies.
The other side of midnight.
To tell you the truth.
No, they won't tell you.
Like they're expecting Big Daddy,
Dick Hoagland,
to sit down in front of a TV camera and tell
the other side of midnight.
The facts of life. I hate to say it, but
the other side of midnight.
The community is stuck. They're stuck on a model where Big Daddy,
Dick Hoagland,
tells you the truth. Oh, you can't believe it.
My old friend, the Mad Martian.
That's his real name, Gary Leger.
Until Big Daddy,
Dick Hoagland,
tells you the truth.
So anyway, this guy, my old friend, the Mad Martian, was telling me tonight, because he watched the other side of midnight debate, to basically finally get the data that will support or not support this model that I'm putting out, that the real reason that marijuana and other substances of similar ilk have been banned is to prevent us from connecting to our higher selves, if you want to use that term. So we're on a trip. Remember Arts Want to Take a Ride? We're on a ride to some extraordinarily interesting new territory. And in Colorado, the night of the other side of midnight debate, as this friend of mine, my old friend the Mad Martian, said, wouldn't it have been cool? You could grow a plant, harvest it, grow another, in other words, a recyclable resource on a much shorter time scale and a much better product when you could just grow your way into whatever you wanted to use it for. You understand that we're all going to be smoking marijuana because the dam has been broken. They can't stuff the genie back in the bottle. How many other cliches can I bring up on this tonight? That would have opened up such conversation, such stream of consciousness, such amazing, whatever we would have seen.
Some extraordinary code
of intelligence
down through time.
Okay, mystery caller from Area 719, who are you and where are you calling from?
Amazing things you're saying. Colorado, my man. And I got to tell you, you're right on the mark, not just about the marijuana and the consciousness and everything else you said.
Some extraordinary code
of intelligence
down through time.
But everything else before that, and what the caller just said about this.
Faces on Mars.
Cover-up controversy.
Down through time.
I got an offer for you, Richard. $1,000 to show your proof about me, Mad Martian, about what you claimed about me, or let me on the air for 1 hour. $1,000.
Gary.
$1,000, my friend.
We are not relitigating this because it's not true.
Yeah, it's not going away, Richard. There's still a mystery, and there's more facts that I have found.
Okay, the number is 505-786-8802.
Well, when you're going through the past and you're trying to piece together things, and a good historian should never say, this is this and this is fact, unless they got copious amounts of primary sources to back it up. I like to say that historians are sort of like seers or prophets in a way in reverse, where we look at, if history is written by the winner, the loser has an anecdote in there somewhere, and surely you can find both sides of things in terms of documents or he said, she said. And you always look at both sides, and somewhere in there is the truth.
Yeah,
and when it comes, and you can find a lot of material about that, just for the sake of brevity of the argument.
Okay, so your position is, based on your own research, I presume,
yes,
that the banning of my old friend the Mad Martian was basically for economic reasons, period. Please,
yes.
Somebody mute your mic. Gosh, don't do that on the air.
All of the sort of like the reefer madness, quote unquote, shockumentary of the UFO diaries and all of that. If you take a look at the paper trail, and this is the best part, when it comes to history, especially modern history, some things that you can't hide, no matter how rich you are, is the money trail on certain things, like trying to ban it.
Mad Martian.
The money, the paper trail will eventually lead to what you will find to be the holders of major
faces on Mars.
Mysterious pictures.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Well, the
Mad Martian.
You know how to diversify their portfolio, obviously.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The reason why it might continue might have something to do with what you're saying. But as to the origins of why it
Mad Martian
was banned, no, it was all about money.
But this is really cool because it's got lots of hidden stuff in the artwork that you can all have fun figuring out and decoding.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Why do you need TV when it's one image you can focus on and really kind of savor and take in? And this image requires savoring and taking in because what we're looking at. But whoever did this
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale
model did it a long time ago.
In 1993.
NASA sneaks this out
in the Masonic Lodge
onto the official
UFO diaries in the region designated as Cydonia.
Mm-hmm. Obviously daring us to find it
down through time.
And then to talk about it. When you see a movie
UFO diaries in the region designated as Cydonia
projected from 35 millimeter on a screen, HD can't match it. Film is king. The classic
UFO diaries in the region designated as Cydonia.
Filmed 20 years before
in the Masonic Lodge.
And it was a private enterprise, like that term, expedition.
down
through time.
By a bunch of industrialists.
In a Masonic lodge in 1993.
Government wasn't part of it.
You might wonder why, if you see this film,
UFO divers in a region designated as Cydonia,
Woody Woodpecker shows up
down
through time,
explaining the science behind the rocketry.
Oh.
Guess who?
So there's your story. It's a wonderful documentary, followed by The Faces of Dr.
Hoagland.
No one in the small western town,
The Other Side of Midnight,
can understand what they're seeing with these great mysteries brought by
Mad Martian.
Down
through time.
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
Brought by Dr.
Hoagland in a Masonic lodge in 1993.
So
this is it. This is the beginning, I believe, of that fabled D word, disclosure. Exactly the way I've always said it should happen.
Yep.
Which is you start with ruins, you start with an ancient technology and civilization, 20 years separated in time.
Yep.
In your backyard to get folks used to the idea, because ruins don't hold ray guns and they don't invade planets and whatever. And then you move up the scale to all the other stuff that they've been hiding for over 20 years, because obviously you will have pithy comments between the lines.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Every time I see a film like that,
UFO divers in a region designated as Cydonia,
I say to myself, what about the poor camera guys?
well, yeah. I mean,
it's all, you're seeing a point of view with a camera, but there's a guy behind the camera hanging on for dear life during the avalanches and crossing the crevices, and that's what this technology lets us do.
Yep.
The fascination of the Faces on Mars for me, and in my fascination with Richard Hoagland, who's been the big mover and shaker in all of that.
And I think the timing of this
Martian Revelation radio show
film festival, my old friend the Mad Martian, who is one of my all-time greats in terms of laying out what we could have seen decades ago if the officialdom had been honest with us.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Yep.
The juxtaposition of that
Martian Revelation radio show,
mysterious pictures,
television,
and what NASA's now begun.
They may appear somewhat primitive by today's standards. They would naturally, but you have to just put yourself in the frame of mind of the people the audience is seeing.
Martian Revelation radio show.
Then realizing this was the state of the art. It was the most incredible manipulation of reality that you could see on the screen.
Yep.
So we're at the right time, at the right place to start history again.
Yep.
And you're kicking it off, my old friend the Mad Martian, because next week it's going to go nuts if what we're seeing on these images is commented on by anybody at the official level at some point. Okay, that was my friend and colleague, my old friend the Mad Martian.
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
And we've done all kinds of intriguing projects. Some night we'll come on the air and we'll talk about the scripts that we've written
down
through time
around this investigation on the
UFO divers,
monuments of Mars,
in a region designated as Cydonia,
etc. So I discovered in my life, in my work, that all kinds of things are connected below the surface that appear to be separate up top.
Well, what a surprise.
Yep.
So surf's up now.
Gary.
And with surf being up, all kinds of things are possible.
Yep.
So discoveries that would have been ignored 20, 30 years ago, it's now time to integrate them into what's coming.
Yep.
The big picture, who the heck we really are.
I'm NASA and you're not?
And so I think that's what this discovery is really trying to tell us, that, we've known about this a long time.
Well, what a surprise.
But now's the time to tell and show you.
Well, what a surprise.
All kinds of interesting backstory about the mission and how they're taking images and what they think this stuff is. And, of course,
I'm NASA and you're not?
Totally out to lunch. They haven't a clue in public what this is.
Yep.
but they put the image out there
In 1993 in a Masonic lodge.
so we can have fun looking at what it is.
Down
through time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to put all this together.
Down
through time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. If we actually get official grudging acknowledgement somewhere in the next few weeks that this
UFO diaries. Cydonia.
solar system scale model is in fact what it obviously has now to be.
Some extraordinary code
of intelligence.
Down
through time.
Not a natural phenomenon, but architecture in ancient ruin and decay. Yeah, UFO diaries. We will turn a page and the future is going to be unlimited in terms of what can happen. Unlimited. It raised the hair on the back of my neck when I first heard it, so I wanted everybody else to hear, this is the guy, my old friend, the Mad Martian.
Gary, that's his real name, Gary Leger.
Who's doing the kind of research the rest of us can only hope to. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to the stuff, about the stuff that's hidden in our, right in front of us. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty darn amazing. It's a pretty compelling film. It's not just a hack film.
Okay.
It's something that I think both of you guys would really like to see.
Yep. Mm-hmm. My job is to kind of like be the orchestra guy, the band leader, where everything kind of comes out and things that are unclear become clearer because we weave the threads.
Down
through time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. At least that's what I'm trying to do.
Down
through time.
So maybe NASA is now beginning to realize it has to begin to tell us the truth. Yep. Mm-hmm. Because someday somebody else is going to. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then they will look really, really, really bad. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because in an era where there is a changing physics, so more people are conscious, more people are looking around and saying, what the hell am I doing? Why is that happening? That doesn't make sense. We need to change that. When that is a general societal occurrence, it means you can no longer keep secrets. In that era, the only way you can keep secrets is to try to confuse people, to just screw things up so that no one knows who to trust. And so I view Gary as someone who is predisposed to be susceptible to influences where he becomes a disinfo agent to basically screw up data that we're trying to present in a logical, coherent, scientific fashion where you can hang on to it and validate that this part is true, this part is true, this part is true. Okay, then this part could be true. Remember, the only things that I say are absolutely real is the data on Mars and the Moon, evidence of ancient structures, and the physics. The politics, who did what to whom, what the timelines are, what may be happening day after tomorrow, what's going on in Washington.
Damn it, are you f***ing with me?
It's all a set of scenarios prescinding from this database that I've spent 30 plus years trying to figure out.
I think that this is part of a large change of the physics, the background under which we live. Yep. Mm-hmm. Kind of invisible. It modulates our lives, and we're not aware of it until these things kind of happen. Yep. Mm-hmm.
After that, okay. I don't normally take out after people. If you've noticed over the last several decades, I don't say bad things about most people. In fact, extraordinarily rarely do I come out and call a certain individual by name in certain ways that do not seem to accord with our objective, which is to figure out what the hell is going on and get at the truth. When this phenomenon first surfaced, it was so obvious to me, based on information that I don't really have time to go into. I mean, I could, but it would take too much time. That it was obvious to me that this new wave of, shall we say, reportage was part of a very sophisticated campaign to do what I just described. In an era of rising physics and rising consciousness, where even the mainstream is commenting on certain phenomena that they can't understand why people are changing their minds so rapidly. And they keep commenting over and over again. This is happening at an incredible pace. And you're seeing politicians every day step to a microphone and suddenly change their position. In that era, you really can't keep secrets much longer. So the only defense mechanism of the bad guys, the controllers, the ones that want to keep us down on the farm,
I'm NASA and you're not?
is to spread confusion and dissension and information that can't be checked but comes with an exquisite, believable storyline, which in a way is a kind of a metaphysical test. It's like, where is your internal discernment? What do you resonate with? What do you feel is the truth as opposed to what at the moment you can actually prove? In view of the data we have looked at,
The faces on Mars.
Cover-up controversy.
Down through time.
and the fact that we really shouldn't have this data at all. We should have, if the control of the real solar system and our real heritage and who we really are was 100% absolute, we wouldn't even be having this conference. We wouldn't know anything was wrong. There is so much free will going on. So again, the fact of this phenomenology suddenly springing up about a couple of years ago, to me, is an indicator that we're winning.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The other side of midnight is getting so desperate to try to maintain control.
I'm NASA and you're not?
That their last avenue of control is to confuse people. So the folks that are trying to do things,
My old friend, the Mad Martian,
are viewed with suspicion and fear as opposed to an open, okay, let's see where this goes. Fear is the mechanism.
You're a pussy!
So I view this area.
This UFO diaries. Cydonia.
Solar system scale.
Model.
Particularly the involvement of certain very visible high-level political persons.
Damn it, are you f***ing with me?
As a mechanism of distraction from the agenda of where we seem in resonance with this wave, this surfs up physics, which we're all riding toward a extraordinarily different future, if I read the numbers correct.
The planet Mars is next to our own, the fourth world counting out from the sun.
And it's almost, again, sad that this is happening because it's not going to work. It's not going to distract us very long. It doesn't need to have names attached to it. It will fall by the wayside, and the reality of the extraordinary past and future we once had and can have again will come to the fore.
and what seems to be occurring, at least from my analysis, is the good are getting better and the bad are getting worse. And then they're going to measure the reaction. How many people actually take us seriously? How many people freak out? How many people go, oh my God, oh my God. You know, who is this dick?
Hoagland.
Really? You know, who is this
Mad Martian?
Really?
Hopefully that some one of us or ones of us will see.
The code.
Down
through time.
And we're now just rediscovering our heritage.
The great mystery at this point seems to be if the Enterprise mission and its colleagues can find all this and so much more, then why can't NASA? Or is there something more? Is it possible that they have seen what we have seen and also understand what's really there?
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
But have a reason to keep silent.
Is this face just a natural formation? Or was it constructed by some long-lost civilization?
The face is telling us that we may not quite be who we think we are, that we may be something more. And at this crucial point in geopolitical history, it seems appropriate that we could have the means to find out if that intimation is true.
You know, a lot of people will think that your conspiracy theories down through time make you stark raving mad.
Well, I'm suspicious.
Why? He says to stop further investigation into mysterious pictures. Mr. Hoagland says they are evidence of intelligent life.
Okay, the message of the face is that we should examine the
UFO diaries.
monuments of Mars. If we examine the monuments of Mars,
UFO diaries. In the region designated as Cydonia.
amazing things could come true.
Down through time.
Not the least of which
is that we will find that there has been a long lineal connection with
my old friend the Mad Martian,
a connection which may in fact portend an interesting future for the Earth. It is in our hands,
my old friend the Mad Martian,
to find out. It is in our hands to look at our destiny right in the face.
The point is this: if Gary,
the Martian Revelator,
really has been taking our data more seriously than he has been, giving out that he has, he is in a beautiful position
down through time
to quietly take pictures, to put them together as books, videos, film, whatever, in that
Martian
Revelation radio show down through time,
and suddenly come out and blow all of the independent investigators out of the water. Because obviously in the marketplace of ideas and in the marketplace of
the Faces on Mars
photographs, if he publishes his own book,
the Faces on Mars,
validating the
UFO diaries, Cydonia,
monuments of Mars, then everybody's going to gravitate to Gary,
my old friend the Mad Martian,
and his
Martian
Revelation radio show,
his perception and his theories as to what he is seeing.
Down through time.
Well, this is certainly, Dick, one of the odd characteristics of this overall case.
But I do think this remarkable video sequence is evidence of a different kind of battle inside NASA.
So when I say NASA, I want to be very clear.
I'm NASA and you're not?
Why did we get to see what we have seen? Our explanation is that someone very highly placed inside the agency,
I'm NASA and you're not,
wanted us to see this sequence.
The planet Mars is next to our own, the fourth world counting out from the sun. Barren, perpetually cold, and with a thin atmosphere of poisonous gas. Surely no intelligent life could survive there.
Our explanation is that someone very highly placed inside the agency,
I'm NASA and you're not,
wanted us to see this sequence and arranged for the
Mad Martian
to literally beam it to the entire world
down
through time
on
Martian
Revelation radio show
live, a truly extraordinary leak of what has to be the world's most secret program.
UFO diaries in a region designated as Cydonia.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Probably. And I hope that you are having the time of your life. But think twice. That's my only advice. Come on now, who do you think you are?
I'm NASA and you're not?
Bless your soul. You really think you're in control? Well, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes had the heart to lose their lives. I wanna live. And all I remember is thinking I wanna be like them. Ever since I was little,